Have you ever shared some really good news with a friend only to get back this weird forced smile? Or maybe you felt a little jab, a subtle dig that was disguised as a joke? Well, today we're diving into that really tricky and honestly often painful topic, what to do when you think a friend might be jealous. It's something that can quietly poison even the strongest friendships, so let's get into how to spot the signs before the damage is done.
You know, this analogy of a slow leak in a tire is just perfect. Because friendship jealousy, it never really announces itself with some loud bang, does it? Nope. It's more like a quiet hissing. Just a series of small comments, strange behaviors, and missed celebrations that, little by little, can completely flatten a relationship that you thought was totally solid.
Okay, so here's our game plan for getting to the bottom of this. First, we'll talk about why this emotion, which is totally normal, can get so toxic. Then we're going to play detective and look at the real red flags, both in what they say and what they do. We'll even get into the psychology of it all before we land on the most important part, how you can protect your own peace through this whole thing.
All right, part one, jealousy, the friendship killer. And the key here is really in that subtitle, why this normal emotion becomes toxic. Because let's be real, jealousy is a universal human feeling. We've all been there. But in a friendship, it crosses a line and turns toxic the second it stops being about mutual support and starts being about a secret one-sided competition. Instead of cheering for you, they start to see your win as their loss.
And this is a really important distinction to make. Envy is pretty simple. It's wanting what you have, like your new job or your cool apartment. But jealousy? That's way more personal. It's the fear that your new job is a threat to them, that you're going to move on and leave them behind. It's all rooted in their own insecurity, not just them wanting your stuff.
So how does this jealousy start to bubble up to the surface? Well, let's start with the things jealous friends say. The first signs are almost always verbal, and they hide in these subtle little digs and undermining questions. It's usually not the words themselves, but the intent behind them that's designed to make you feel just a little bit smaller.
And here we have it, the absolute classic, the backhanded compliment. This is just praise wrapped up in an insult, right? It's their way of looking like they're being supportive while also taking a little shot at you. And why do they do it? Because it's all about keeping you from feeling too good about yourself, which would just make their own jealousy feel even worse.
And here is a perfect, stinging example of that. Imagine you share some amazing news, like you landed a new role, and this is the response you get. Ouch. You can just feel how that completely deflates the moment, can't you? It reframes your success as just dumb luck or a lack of competition. Anything but your own hard work. It's a textbook move. Then you've got something that's even more subtle and frankly a lot more manipulative. They start asking questions that are specifically designed to plant doubt in your mind. They'll mask it as them just being concerned or maybe just curious, but the real goal is to inject a little bit of insecurity directly into your head. They want you to second-guess yourself. And here are a few things to really listen for. It's all about the subtext. When they ask, so how did you even manage to do that? What you should hear is, I don't really think you deserve this. When they say, aren't you worried you're doing too much? It's basically a passive-aggressive plea for you to stop because your success is making them uncomfortable. And maybe the worst one, why are you acting so different lately? That's a straight-up attempt to make you feel guilty for growing as a person.
Okay, so we've talked about the verbal jabs. Now let's move on to what jealous friends actually do. Because sometimes, when actions speak louder than words, it's what they don't do that sends the clearest message of all.
This comparison lays it all out so clearly. A supportive friend shows up when it's time to celebrate. A jealous friend, they go quiet. Think about it. They're often your biggest cheerleader when you're struggling, because your struggle makes them feel secure. But the second you succeed, poof, they vanish. They can't stand to be around the evidence of your growth because it's like a painful mirror reflecting their own feelings of being stuck.
And now for a really, really weird and toxic sign, they become the copycat friend. And this goes way beyond them just admiring your style. This is imitation that's driven by a desperate, deep-seated envy. They don't just want what you have. They literally want to be you. And it follows this kind of creepy progression. First, they gather intel, basically studying your life like it's a textbook. Then they start to imitate you, buying the same clothes, picking up your exact hobbies. The really telling stage, though, is the one-up. You run a 5K, they immediately sign up for a 10K. See, it's not just about having your life, it's about proving they can do it better. And this is so scary because it shows this profound lack of their own identity.
They're trying to wear your success like a costume because they haven't figured out how to build their own.
So we've seen the evidence, right? In their words, in their actions. But to really get a handle on this, we have to look at the why. What is actually going on inside their head that makes them act this way? Let's get into the psychology of it.
And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? What is really going on in their head? Because 9 times out of 10, it's not about you at all. Their reaction is a total reflection of their own internal battles. Now, understanding this doesn't excuse the behavior, not at all, but it can help you take it less personally, which is a huge first step.
You know, psychologically, this is a really primal response. Jealousy is this complex social emotion, and it actually activates the same parts of our brain that handle our fight or flight response. So when your friend sees you succeeding, their brain can literally interpret it as a direct threat to their security in the friendship. To them, it feels like an emergency.
And as you can see, it's never just one thing. It's this messy cocktail of internal struggles. Insecurity is usually the biggest driver, that feeling of, I'm not good enough. Right behind that is low self-esteem. And then you throw in social comparison, which is like pouring gasoline on a fire in the age of social media, and it's all tied together by this deep-seated fear of being left behind.
And let's not forget the toll this takes on you. Because being on the receiving end of this constant passive aggression and negativity is just absolutely exhausting. It can make you start to doubt yourself, to dim your own light just to make them feel more comfortable. It is a heavy and totally unfair burden to have to carry.
Which brings us to our final, and honestly most important section, protecting your peace. Now that you can spot the signs and you understand the psychology, what do you actually do about it? How do you handle this with real clarity and confidence?
And this right here is the most important thing to remember. It is not your job to cure their jealousy. You can't fix their insecurity. You can't heal their low self-esteem. And trying to will only drain you completely. So the goal isn't to change them. The goal is to manage the situation in a way that protects your own energy.
So here's a practical roadmap. First, just evaluate. Be brutally honest with yourself. Has this friendship become more draining than supportive? If you decide it's worth trying to save, then talk to them. Have a gentle but direct conversation, using I statements, like, I feel hurt when my achievements are downplayed. If that doesn't work, it's time for boundaries. Maybe you just stop talking about your career with them. A really powerful move, especially with a copycat, is to put them on an information diet. Stop giving them the blueprint to your life. And finally, if nothing changes, creating distance isn't a failure. It is a powerful act of self-preservation.
I really want you to remember this quote, because it's such a powerful way to reframe the whole situation. They are in a secret competition with you, and they're losing. You're not even aware you're competing, and yet here you are, winning, just by living your life. They're the ones losing, because they're stuck trying to copy a life that isn't theirs, instead of building one of their own.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Your friendships should be a source of support, not stress. So take a quiet moment and think about your circle. Who lifts you up? Who celebrates with you, genuinely, without any reservations? Those are the people to pour your precious energy into. Because a true friend doesn't just watch you shine, they cheer for you to shine even brighter.